Okay, let's just get right into it. Have you ever wondered why some pieces of content just absolutely explode with millions of views, while others, sometimes even better produced ones, get completely stuck at zero? It is incredibly frustrating, isn't it? It's what creators have dubbed the zero view problem, and for the longest time, people just threw their hands up and blamed bad luck. But here's the thing. Research shows it's actually not luck at all. Capturing attention is a surprisingly predictable formula. To see that attention isn't just random, we literally just have to look at the data. Academic research on streaming media reveals a massive, undeniable cliff drop-off right at the 6-minute mark. After 6 minutes, even highly motivated viewers just start bailing out. So, what does this tell us? It tells us human attention is a rigid science. If you understand the fundamental rules of how the brain processes information, you can actually engineer content that people simply cannot look away from. So, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to build a bulletproof blueprint for your content. We're going to do that by blending two very different worlds: the strict academic cognitive research on how human memory works and the modern digital algorithms that dictate what actually goes viral. We are creating the ultimate attention blueprint. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll start by tackling the zero view problem, then map out the science of memory. From there, we'll dive into the 3 pillars of creation: engineering the perfect hook, mastering retention, and finally, delivering the payoff. All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the zero view problem, and why we need to stop blaming the algorithm. It's time to completely debunk this myth of bad luck. If your content is flatlining, you aren't unlucky. You're probably just trapped in algorithmic view jail. To break out of there, you literally have to prove you're not a spam bot. The systems behind these platforms are constantly fighting inauthentic behavior, right? So if you make a brand new account and immediately start dropping content, you fail to trust test and the algorithm holds you back. To fix this, you need a warm-up period. For about 4 to 7 days, just act like a normal human. Watch naturally, leave genuine comments, engage. You also have to pass the originality test. A ton of creators fall into this copycat trap where they just re-upload viral clips. The system catches that digital signature instantly and suppresses it. You have to remix, add your own voice, dynamic visual layers, or commentary to prove to the system that this is a brand new, unique piece of media. Now, there's another trap here that even experienced creators fall into, and it's called the sudden switch. Let's say you've built up a great audience talking about gaming streamers, and then out of nowhere, you post about motivational philosophy. The algorithm shows it to your gaming fans, they immediately swipe away, and the system automatically assumes your new piece of content is terrible. You've totally confused the predictive algorithm and damaged its loyal audience profile it works so hard to build for you. If you ever want to change niches, you have to steer the ship slowly. Keep 80% of your content in your winning niche and just gently test 20% in the new one. Moving on to Section 2, the science of memory, or really, how the audience brain works. We've talked about the machine algorithm, but to truly capture attention, we've got to understand the human algorithm. Information comes into our sensory memory through visual and verbal channels. But before it can ever become a long-term memory, it has to pass through what's called the working memory. Working memory is the absolute gatekeeper here, and it has a strictly limited capacity. If you overwhelm the working memory, the brain physically cannot process the information. And in the digital world, that means the viewer swipes away instantly. This brings us to a fascinating concept called cognitive load theory. Every single piece of content you make forces your viewer's brain to carry a load, and that load is broken down into 3 distinct components: intrinsic, germane, and extraneous. Managing these 3 is literally the secret sauce to perfect content. So let's define them. Intrinsic load is the unavoidable baseline difficulty of whatever topic you're explaining. Think about it like this. Teaching someone a simple word pair, like blue equals azul, has a very low intrinsic load. But teaching them complex conditional Spanish grammar, that has a super high intrinsic load. Now, you can't really change the intrinsic load, but you definitely must be aware of it so you can structure your delivery properly. Next up is germane load. Think of this as the good brain power. It's the productive mental effort your viewer uses to actually learn, to make comparisons, and to stay actively engaged with your narrative. You always want to optimize and encourage germane load because this is exactly what makes your content stick in their mind. And finally, the absolute villain of our story, extraneous load. This is all the unhelpful mental clutter. It's caused by confusing visuals, bad audio, or just giving extra rambling information that doesn't push the story forward. Remember that limited working memory we just talked about? Extraneous load fills it right up. When working memory maxes out with useless junk, the viewer abandons the content. Your ultimate goal is to relentlessly minimize extraneous load. All right, Section 3, engineering the perfect hook. We're talking seconds 0 to 3. Now that we actually understand the brain, let's apply it to the timeline of your content. Every successful piece rests on 3 pillars: the hook, the retention, and the payoff. In those first 0 to 3 seconds, viewers aren't choosing to click, they are already watching as they scroll. So your only job is to give their thumb a reason to stop. So how exactly do we stop them? By combining creator tactics with hard data. For instance, placing an energetic text hook right in the opening frame boosts brand recall by a staggering 48%. You also want to pace your speech at around 5 to 10 words per second. This maximizes viewer awareness. You need to create a jolt, like a sudden visual change or an information gap that raises a question they desperately need answered right now. And practically speaking, please keep your text inside the safe zone so the platform's UI buttons don't cover up your message and add to that dreaded extraneous load. Section 4, mastering video retention. Let's talk about winning the middle. Okay, you've hooked them, but now you are in the middle of a ruthless battle to keep their attention and maintain that narrative momentum. Stark academic data from millions of watching sessions proves that even highly motivated students abandon educational content once it stretches past 6 to 9 minutes. In fact, the maximum median engagement time is just 6 minutes. What this means for you is that aggressive pacing is an absolute necessity. You literally cannot afford a single wasted second. To maintain that rapid pace, you have to do what academics call weeding, which basically means ruthlessly cutting out the deadwood. But here's the catch. What you weed out completely depends on your specific audience. A novice learner needs strict focus. They're easily overwhelmed by extra details. But an expert learner, they are completely bored by the basics. For them, essential background info is just an annoying distraction. So you've got to tailor your content's extraneous load perfectly to whoever you are targeting. Let's translate some of these academic concepts into street-smart editing tricks, okay? Use signaling, flashing keywords or arrows on screen to quickly direct the eye. Use segmenting, chunking ideas into small chapters so the intrinsic load isn't overwhelming all at once. Match modality. So if you're explaining a complex process, don't just talk to the camera, show an animation while you narrate, lighting up both the visual and verbal channels in the brain simultaneously. And finally, pacing. Try changing your visual angle or text overlay every 1.5 to 3 seconds to constantly re-hook the viewer's attention. And finally, Section 5, delivering the payoff, the final reward. The conclusion is where that bold promise you made way back in the first 3 seconds absolutely must be satisfyingly resolved. Alignment is everything here. If your hook promised a massive secret, the payoff has to deliver a mind-blowing secret. A truly satisfying payoff validates the time your viewer just spent with you. It creates that awesome aha moment. And more importantly for your growth, when viewers are highly satisfied, they often rewatch the climax. That artificially inflates your completion rates and average view duration, which happens to be the exact metrics that tell the algorithm to push your content to millions. But we do have to be careful. As this quote from the research warns us, watching a video can be a passive experience. We need to help students do the processing. Passive watching actually hurts long-term retention. If you just sit there and talk at them, they might finish the explainer, sure, but they'll forget you the second they scroll. We need to keep their brain actively engaged right up to the very last second. So, how do we fix passive watching? By embedding guiding questions directly into the content. Don't just give them the answer immediately. Ask them a question that forces them to actually think for a split second. Doing this spikes that good Germane load we talked about, forcing the brain to do productive work, and that is exactly what locks the information into their long-term memory. Well, you now possess the blueprint. You understand the algorithm's trust tests, and you know exactly how human memory processes visuals and audio. The only question left is, will your next creation just be swiped past noise, or will it be engineered to become a permanent part of your viewer's memory? The science is literally just sitting there, waiting for you to use it.